Hello, Ashley. I appreciate you meeting with me today. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So when I observed your lesson, I was really impressed with how well the students were engaged throughout the entire lesson. And I noticed that you have a very strong relationship with all of your students. I really enjoyed how you celebrated with the one little boy at the end while he was finished reading. That was one of the indicators that you definitely have a strong relationship with all of your kiddos. And another thing that I noticed was you did a lot of modeling for those particular students. And I'm sure that's exactly what those particular students needed. So a lot of modeling was awesome. Overall, how did you feel that the lesson went?
Overall, I feel the lesson it went pretty well. That was the second time that those students had read that story. So usually with my students, the first time we read it, that's when we get out we do all of our problem solving, working through those tricky words using the different strategies that they have. So the second read should be a fairly fluent read, but still you can see there is still a lot of problem solving that needed to happen with those students, even on the second read. And the story that they were reading was The Three Pigs. So it's kind of like should be a familiar story for a first grader at this point, but they still kind of struggled a little bit with just even some of the basics. Like they kept wanting to say that the wolf was a fox.
Yes.
Which we all know there's no fox in that story. So we had to work through some of those misconceptions a little bit still. But this is a group that needs a lot more time processing things, and things come a little bit slower for them than some of my other first grade groups. So that was kind of to be expected, even on a second read. But other than that, I was a little bit disappointed with how they performed. I thought they would read this time a little bit better just because it's their second time. We worked those hard, tricky words, and it should be a familiar story. But other than that, I did think it went well. This group they're very good at being patient for the most part, and, working with me and, keep staying on task. So I thought it went pretty well.
That's awesome. I totally agree. I felt like all of your students were engaged throughout the entire lesson. I did notice one little boy was flipping through his pages awfully quickly, and he wanted to get to those flashcards. So can you kind of talk to me about what those flashcards are and the purpose for those in your group?
Sure. Those, they're just called their word baggies. So essentially what I do is when I do a reading record with a student, if there's a sight word that I notice they keep missing, or there's a word that they miss while they're reading, even just in my informal observations throughout a new book, whatever it may be, I'll plop it down on a flashcard. It goes in their word bag after we talk about it. Or if there's a word that I know is coming up in the next book we're about to read that the students I for sure know haven't learned it yet, or they're stuck on it, we will usually build it with our magnetic letters multiple times. We'll write it, we'll find it in a book or the news story, and then it goes on a flashcard and it goes into their word bag. So I pull those out because I do have within that group of 3 students you saw some kids that take much longer to read and some that are a little bit quicker. So the student that you saw, Nash, I think he was the only one that got to his flashcards.
Yes.
So I pull those out because if they finish early, then they can go through and practice those, and they really do enjoy, just like even with a partner, doing like a quick flash and read, or playing like flipping them over, reading them to themselves. So it's just like an opportunity for them to practice those sight words and have another chance to see them again. Also, it just helps keep them busy while I'm still trying to work with those slower readers.
Absolutely. Sure. I love that idea. And definitely, like you said, it makes him see those words again. So when he sees them in a text like another day, he is able to easily recognize that word. So I love that idea and how you incorporated those in your group. So that was awesome. So let's go back and talk about the data that you've collected to kind of sort those kids into that particular reading group. Like what reading level are they reading at, and why did you choose that particular standard for that lesson?
Okay, can you say that one more time because the video froze?
Oh.
And I did not hear the question.
You're okay. So let's kind of talk about the data that you collected to sort those students into that particular group. What standard did you focus on and why?
Okay. So basically, since I'm doing reading intervention right now, that's the position that I am. We I don't have like certain standards for each lesson because I do work with an intervention program called Level Literacy Intervention. So what we do is at the beginning of the year, our students are grouped based on the benchmark assessment system. So this classroom teachers assess them to find out what reading level they are at. And then we kind of group students based on not only what level they come out at, but also their accuracy, their fluency, and their comprehension at that level. So that's kind of how we group students. So these students were grouped together at the beginning of the year, so I've had them since the fall. So that's the data that was used to group them. And then with that being said, I do reading records pretty much every other day on a different student in that group to make sure that they are being successful at that level. And to kind of define or to plan where I want to go next with that student and with their reading goals. So I don't have specific, it was just going to sound crazy, but standards that I'm linking my lesson to in that regard because we're working through a level literacy intervention program that's kind of already planned out for me.
Okay.
Now each lesson does have specific goals, and I do create specific goals for each individual student based on my observations of them in reading group, the conversations I've had with their classroom teachers, and then what I see when I assess them with their reading records.
Awesome. And
so they're all kind of, all three of those students that you saw are kind of all working, they are very low for first grade, so they're all kind of working on the same skills right now. But yes, I hope that answers.
How long are your guided reading groups for each group of students?
They are 30 minutes.
Okay, that's a decent amount of time then.
Yeah, first grade is 30 minutes. So sometimes, especially with this group, and when I work with them, we're in there for 30 minutes. We're working really hard from the minute they get there to the minute they leave.
Well, I could definitely tell because you fit a lot into a lesson. I love how you're using the LLI kit for those students. Those visuals and those pictures are awesome. And I loved how you were incorporating the writing books. Definitely that helps the students make those connections from what they're reading to their paper and pencil. So one suggestion that you wanted me to look for in your lesson was how to get all the students involved. And I think this would be a perfect idea to do, especially with your kindergarten and first grade students, is printing off a piece of paper that has a somebody, wanted to, but, so, and finally, and then laminating those and letting the students use a dry erase marker. So when you are reading the somebody, they can use the dry erase marker and they can individually answer the question. So for example, for the story that you read, the somebody would be the big bad wolf. That will allow all the students to actively participate in answering the questions, because I noticed a couple times like it was the same kiddo answering the question and not really giving the other students an opportunity to answer the questions.
Yeah, for sure.
So I just feel like it is because everyone wants to talk. So I just feel like that would be a great tool to incorporate in your next guided reading lesson.
Okay.
And then that way you can easily check the students' understanding, because some students might not have even comprehended what they were reading, and some students might have understood exactly what they were reading. So that chart is a great visual, and then it ties perfectly into your writing, because the little boy that you started pounding the words with first, he kind of had a hard time digesting what words he was going to write on his paper. So I feel like after you guys got done doing that chart together, they could use some of those sentence starters to begin writing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that would be really good. Because like you said, I mean, a huge part of the writing process for us is connecting the writing with the comprehension of the story. And because these students struggle so much to comprehend, even something just like they really struggle to retell a story in their own words, even just those basic events of the story, like beginning, middle, and end. So I think having something like this, where it's a little bit more guided, would help them find the words, because especially that little boy, right, or the little blonde in the middle.
Yes.
He's very quiet, very shy. And my other two students aren't always so quick to answer even when they're wrong.
Yeah.
So I think this would give him more of a platform to share.
Absolutely.
Organize his thoughts, and then it would be a really good model for that comprehension piece, and then they can tie that directly into their writing. So I really do like this idea.
Awesome. So is there anything else that I can help you with for a future lesson that I observe?
At this point, I don't think so. I think maybe if I do get, if I get this ready and implement this idea, then maybe you could come watch that and see how it goes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, if there's nothing else, I appreciate your time today, and I look forward to watching your next lesson.
Thank you so much.